Why is it that every Albanian I've ever met looks like they would kill you for sport?
You know what it is, man? We're a people that have been in perpetual conflict, man. You know, the Albanian territories sit in the crossroads of the empires. So if you look at where we're positioned, because, you know, I know Americans are amazing with geography. You know, we're at the crossroads, man. We're north of Greece. We're south of Serbia. We're really technically in the heart of the world, but we're in the heart of the empires, right? That's where the Roman Empire had provinces. That's where you know, the Ottoman Empire spent a good 500-600 years. World War I started there, right, in Bosnia. So when you look at the region that we come from, unfortunately, it's been a very hostile place for a very long time. And unfortunately, it looks like it's going to continue to be that. So the Albanian people, the world calls us Albanian. And it's very similar to how we have the word Jew. The largest tribe, if I'm not mistaken, of the Israelites was the Judeans. So that's what people call them. Right? They had more contact with that tribe. That's where the word Jew comes from, right? The largest tribe of the ancient Illyrians was the Albanoi tribe, because the Albanians are also a tribal people. So the world had more contact with that. So we got the word Albanian from that. We don't call ourselves Albanian. The word that we use in our own language is called Shqiptar.
Shqiptar?
Shqiptar. So like Shqiptar. And when another Albanian sees another Albanian, you go, hey, what's up, Sheepa? So listen, it's unfortunately still one of the poorest regions in the world. It's the poorest region in all of Europe. We've been through conflict after conflict. We've been struggling for our freedom for over 2,000 years. And I would equate us to like being kind of like the Afghanis of Europe, a people that are constantly under conflict, constantly struggling to live in peace. But we're not as, not a similar history as the Afghanis. But what I'm saying is we come from a very rugged terrain. It's very mountainous. It's the second most mountainous country in all of Europe after Switzerland. You didn't really have roads up until the last 10 years. So a lot of times, you know, we're mountainous regions, very poor, always in a constant state of war. That's going to age you, Dan. And it's going to make you rugged. It's going to make you tough, because you have to be tough just to survive, you know? Those stories of, I used to walk 20 miles to get to school. Like, my dad really walked 20 miles to get to school. Like, he was not lying to me. You know, I'm born and raised in America. I'm first generation. I'm very blessed to be here, man, and how lucky I am. And I know a lot of Albanians feel that way, because every time I go back to Albania, in the Albanian territories, the number one question I'm asked is, how do I get to America, man? I want to get to America. And everybody wants to come here. Nowhere else.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, I was telling you right before we started, back in the day when I was like in my mid-teens, I worked construction, and I worked with these two Albanian guys. And I never heard anybody talk so positively about America before. They were just so happy to be here. They were some of the most like fun, kind people I'd ever met. And I still keep in touch. I still talk to them. This one guy, his name's Ilirian.
Illyrian.
Illyrian, yes.
Illyrian. And so our language is the oldest original Indo-European language in existence. When you look at the family tree of languages, you have Latin-based languages like Portuguese, Spanish, Italian.
Yeah.
They're all cousins. Then you have the Slavic languages like Russian, Polish, right? Serbian. These are Slavic languages.
Yeah.
The Albanian language comes from nothing. It's original when you look at it. So, you know, a lot of the countries that surround us, unfortunately, are very hostile towards us. And I really hope that our neighbors can let's just accept the status quo, man. Like, nobody's won in these conflicts. You know, speaking about your friends, in the Albanian culture, it's extremely important. The guest. They have an expression in Albanian. The guest is the god of the house. You know, basically, when someone comes over your home, you're responsible for their life the second they cross your threshold. You're supposed to treat them better than you treat yourself. You're supposed to feed them better than you feed yourself. They're sleeping in your bed. You're sleeping on the floor. You take your shoes off before you enter the house. The house is a sacred place, the home. But when a guest comes over, ask anyone that's ever visited an Albanian family. You know, everything's coming out. Every food, every beverage, whatever we have, whatever you want. If we don't have what you want, they're sending their kid out to the store. The guest comes first, because it's very important. You know, listen, the longer you live in the melting pot, we start to kind of adopt, right, the American way of life, or it might be a little bit different. It's like, hey, you want to sleep over at my house? You're sleeping on the couch.
Right.
We are a very loyal people. You know, what bothers me, and, you know, my mom's family's from Tropoja, where if you watch the movie Taken, right? That's where the guys come from, and they get this bad reputation, of being these guys that, we want to avoid certain words for the sake of the podcast. But, that movie, everyone knows what it's about. It's about a guy whose daughter gets taken and blah, 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 and sold into the black. And this is like the most watched movie that has anything to do with our people. And for me, it's like heartbreaking, because it's like we've already had so much of a tragic history. We've done so much for the world that the world doesn't even know about. And this is how we're portrayed, in films, when most Albanians live, half of our people live abroad because of the perpetual conflicts, because of the hostility of our neighbors, because of the poverty that our people live in. Half of our people live outside. They live in Germany, Switzerland, Austria. They live all over the world, Australia. But there's a big chunk of us in America. The love for America, as you mentioned earlier, goes back to the early 1900s. Most Americans don't realize that you have no greater ally, not just in Europe, in the world. When it comes to the relationship of the American and the Albanian, what the American needs to understand is that the Albanian people are willing to fight and die for the United States of America.